go on the up and up. Let's go ahead and get ready for Battleground number 2 as our teams are ready to pop on in. It's going to be Volskaya Foundry, Leftovers with the choice, and Zealots will be having first pick.
Yep, and now we're going to see map control again. I want to see what the adjustment is on the side of the Zealots. So they have a lot of good material to work with. We highlighted how Robadoba really performed quite well for his previous team on the front line. We have, of course, with Shad, a great support player here with Chris on the lineup. But for them, it's really just that difference in playstyle that now comes in. You switch from ADRD, from the Mad Scientist, over to Quacknix, who has always been someone that prioritizes more the current meta side. He tries to find these really stable drafts and stable positions for his team. Is not quite experimenting as much as other drafters, and that's something that the team just has to adjust to. Same goes for the shot calls here. Quacknix usually has a very macro-oriented style. That's why Globus played such a huge role for Fnatic in the past as well.
Yeah, you won't get wacky heroes, but you might have some wacky calls. That's why we have the old Fnatic core calls, right? Those were scenarios that Quacknix and the rest of the crew would be like, okay, let's go for this kill, let's take out the win. That's one of the things that Quacknix does really well as a player, is he identifies how to go for the throat and then gets his team on board.
Tracer again banned out, and that once more just highlights how much respect the Zealots have for DAB, who on the Leftover side performed with Tracer extremely well in Phase 1 of 2018, so that hero is immediately eliminated. Question just remains, what are the Leftovers going to ban now? Do they make adjustments here now? Because we have the first pick this time shifted towards the Zealot side, so what do they prioritize in terms of the bans? They themselves first pick Blaze, and we could even see it prioritized towards a ban here.
Garrosh could be a worthy ban. With Robadoba being on the opposing team, it's something that you have to consider and take away, especially on this map. The control point is so strong for him. That armor allows for him to step and really kind of own the entire area.
Genji as well.
Yeah, Genji.
There we go.
There it is.
So Genji banned out for the map, and now we still have a few options available. You can go into that early Blaze that we saw Leftovers just prioritized in the last game as a first pick, but you still have, of course, options with Garrosh, as you pointed out, and for other teams we have seen Malfurion as a first pick. So we're not quite sure how exactly they're going to run this. This is still the new Zealots, so how do they present themselves here? But at this point, let's see what they prioritize the most.
Old Zealots would have gone for a Hanzo. Chris in particular really enjoys playing that hero.
Yep.
Gone on this map too, and being able to open up the fights. They're thinking about it here. Because something that you have to consider if you go into Garrosh and suddenly you're in a spot where you have to deal with poke compositions, and we've seen Chromie in the past from Leftovers, they're willing to move into that. Chromie has been a great poke or great hero to deal with Garrosh. Anything that can kind of put damage on him from afar and slowly whittle him down is something that he has trouble dealing with, which means you need to be able to force the engage or of course protect him.
They actually take a long time for that first pick, a little bit more than I expected, but we have Blaze taken. I like that choice. I mean, we talked about Blaze being an early pick here, and last time Leftovers played Blaze in the immediate first rotation, and I think they would have done the same thing again. So for Zealots, it's actually great. So they're going to have Zomani on Blaze. That gives them a lot of sustain for any fight over the control points, and it takes Blaze away from the Leftovers. He used to great success in game number 1. So adjustments that we could see. I mean, we're still talking Deckard Cain prioritized over Malfurion. Still Hanzo though as the next pick.
Hanzo and Cain, sustain and poke. And what I like about it is they don't really commit to anything here. Both these heroes are pretty darn flexible. With anything they want to move into, sure you have to find a take that has the engage that can follow up on an arrow, but pretty darn easy. But if you also want to play reclusive, that's fine too with Hanzo. And Deckard Cain really adds that too, with a stay a while and listen.
I mean, you have a couple of insane options right now if you're on the Zealot side. First of all, you get to pick the tank, whoever you want. You can go for Johanna, you can go for Garrosh here. You have Malfurion still available. You can go for even a potential snipe comp around a Stukov setup, but I think they are in a fantastic spot to round this out. So far, Deckard is great, Hanzo too, but I think for the Zealots, this is actually a really strong draft so far. At least they have, I mean, if you go for a Garrosh and Blaze setup at this point and you add any kind of Malfurion heal towards that, that's just insane layers of defense already, especially if you commit to Tranquility. Don't go into Garrosh, but they go Muradin, same applies, strong frontline, Malfurion setup. I think that's pretty solid for them.
Yeah. Good front line. A little bit safer. Doesn't really have the playmaking abilities compared to a Garrosh, but there's always that Storm Bolt.
You have the self-sustain also on Mirrored Inside, and he can always jump out. 13, when you have healing static coming online, you can just really claim the space on the objective. You can still ban Garrosh out at this point, but the question still is, do you actually have to? Because after level 10, no matter who gets flipped in here, I mean, it gets difficult because you flip Mirrored and he just jumps out or he starts clapping and pops Avatar. You don't have... I don't even think you have to ban Garrosh here. I mean, you can, but there's no Stukov on the other side, so normally what you're afraid of is a Garrosh throw into a Stukov silence, and that can't happen here. So if Muradin gets thrown, he can either jump out or pop Avatar and start clapping and get the value out of his healing static. Blaze can drop a bunker, and at that point, you can really just say, okay, whatever, what are you going to get out of it? They can ban the offlane now if they want, instead of targeting the front line.
Still triangles to help out with it. But I think Johannes is safer play all the way here for Leftovers. Just give you something that can hold the front line. Chromie gets banned out from Zealots. Just making sure they don't have to deal with that poke that comes in. Again, DAB has played in the past. And just to throw that out there, I don't think we're going to have it here, but we have seen Nova on this battleground that passed from Leftovers from DAB, someone that he actually really doesn't enjoy and wants to make work occasionally. But I don't think we're getting the Nova, especially with a Hanzo.
Chromie can also really just burn down a bunker pretty quickly with the Dragon's Eye. So that's
and the Protector.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we definitely see sometimes. But yeah, let's see how exactly the Leftovers are going to play this. Now, Deckard is a super early priority for them. I'm not quite sure if I necessarily agree with that, but he adds a lot of zone control, and that's great for him. And we saw a lot of advantages of playing Deckard in the previous game, where Team Liquid had to go up against him on the side of the monkeys. That made things difficult. Whew, Maiev and a Nubarak, so potentially Containment Disc and Cocoon.
Will Zealots have a Thrall pickup? Quack was really favoring him, and played him a lot at the MSB. I am worried with Maiev sharking around that could be a liability, but it's still good poke.
I mean, triple frontline is definitely a bit of a concern here.
Yeah.
You can still also pick Li Ming. Now, Li Ming can, first of all, burn down any Cocoon that comes out.
True.
That's a big one. Has a bit more flexibility. You get a reset mechanic for yourself as well. You have definitely great player for Li Ming here with Chris on the other side. Question still is, what is Quack gonna play? But yeah, Li Ming would probably be a solid option, just so that he can burn. I would be a little bit worried of Cocoon and Containment Disc coming out, and with good coordination on the Leftovers, they can turn a fight into a very quick 5 versus 3, even if it's just for a few seconds. So Li Ming here, I really like that. If not targeted by one of the two ults, can burn the Cocoon down very, very quickly. And we get Falstad, who can also drop a quick Mighty Gust. Needs to be, of course, a bit careful when he gets engaged upon, but still solid picks here for them.
Pretty decent wave clear, too.
Yep.
Like the Falstad coming in. And now we just need to find a pickup here for the Leftovers. I do worry they're a little squishy here. They're going to need a sideliner. I mean, Dahaka's the easy pickup, but you lose a little bit on the rotation here.
I mean, in theory, nah. They're gonna do
Would Leo work? I don't know. I feel like Leo is doable, but he would get blown up the front line. I always worry about it with Li Ming.
I mean, they could also be the one that just simply go for Thrall here and say they are poking with lightning.
Yeah.
I mean, with a different frontline tank, I would have said you have also the option of going into Abathar and keeping Maiev on the solo lane for a bit and Abathar helping out with that. But I'm not quite sure if that's really the draft that you want to go for with this. So yeah, I would say we're going to have another side laner here, and they go for Dehaka.
A little bit more durability. And also a little bit more CC. Alright then. Let me get the draft here.
I feel Leftovers have a draft that demands more on the execution level.
Sure.
It's a little bit of a question of how exactly they run it, because on Maiev you can still go for the Containment Disc again, and we've seen the approach of Cocoon plus Containment Disc. If you run that properly, and then the Haka gets also an isolation off at the same time, and you get those 3 off, you have a fantastic team fight. The question is, are you going to hit all of those, and are you coordinating it properly? Because you can definitely end up in a scenario where it's not properly timed, and then you don't get the value out of it that you really want. I think that Zealots have also reacted to that possibility by picking Blaze with a bunker, Muradin has a lot of survivability. You have the Mighty Gust available for Falstad. Li Ming, if she's not targeted, burns down the Cocoon pretty quickly. I like what Zealots have here. Leftovers can make this work, but it's going to be way more difficult than what Zealots is running here. So I actually think Zealots have a much better draft than they had in game number 1, where their strategy didn't really work out for them. It depends on how good the execution of the Leftovers is, but I would be... I mean, if Leftovers can pull that one off, then kudos, but it's definitely going to be hard.
You can't really annoy or ignore Quack on Falstad, so that's always going to be a strong pickup. But I think, honestly, if you look over the Leftovers, it's just all on Maiev. Maiev says, okay, I got that containment disc. That's what the fire pin is, right? They're able to go in and force a fight that they want to. I don't know, man. They look pretty coordinated in game number 1. I'm kind of believing in the draft here as we head in to Volskaya Foundry. On the left side, in the blue, it will be the Zealots. Zarmony playing Blaze, Shadow Malfurion, Chris on Li Ming, Robodoba on Muradin, and Quacknix to pull out Falstad.
And over to the right side of the map, we have the Leftovers with Linked on the support. He plays Deckard Kane. Blake Kidney finds himself on Maiev. Boss, on the other hand, Dehaka for the side lane. Mopsio, of course, with a main tank in Nuburak this time. And DAB on the damage output going for Hanzo here.
So Season Marksman coming in for Falstad. We had a lot of bribe Falstad coming in from Hasuabs in the first series of today. Looking like we want to get those stacks popped him, which is a very Quack type of style, especially the way that he likes to split push and soak up those lanes with that boomerang at level 7.
Also the perfect storm taken for Robodoba on the level 1. There isn't really too much poke available on the other side. Hanzo, of course, is annoying when it comes to it, but it's not that you have a double a double backline setup where you have continuous poke coming through and you really need that third win every time. So in this case, they're trying to go for a few more stacking that they can go and maybe get a quick kill here, especially, of course, after a potential setup through Blaze with the jet propulsion. But first of all, it's Mopsio being aggressive here and trying to put Robodoba in an awkward spot.
Trying to punish the dwarf toss that came in from Robodoba. Wanted to try and deny his opponent from getting any damage on, but Anubrak wanted to come over and try and get a pick. Did a little bit of damage, but nothing too crazy. Turrets now spawn. 1 minute pops already. Immediately Leftovers head over and start to clear it out. Zarmony, realizing that with the Sonic Arrow coming out, is going to let his teammates know they grab the turrets to the left, and they do so. So pretty standard opening between these two.
There's a lot of layers for Zealots in their defense. Muradin alone has already a lot of tankiness, and then we have, of course, Blaze added to that together with Malfurion. I'm really a bit curious to see what he goes for in terms of heroic abilities. I could definitely see Tranquility again coming through here, but you have also the argument that with the Twilight Rune you can shut down a lot of the options of what Leftovers have here. Falstad being here means also that we could see Leftovers with Dehaka floating into the top, and he could come in. That's why Blaze actually starts to rotate right now, as they're both fighting over the healing pulse.
A little bit too late, though. Zealots have to back away. Leftovers get the pulse to get the experience as well. And Leftovers gotta be happy so far. Turret and a pulse setup. Mopsio thinking about coming in for an engage here in the top left, but he gets scouted out pretty darn quickly. 4 hits for both of our teams, and next it will be all about the control point. And that'll be spawning pretty darn soon. You want to get your waves pushed out, start working on your camps. Already Maiev does that to the top right corner. Zealots look like they'll be a bit delayed here, which they can delay longer if they would like to try to have the pressure while they deal with the middle lane. Let Falstad kind of push with that and attempt to get a turret.
Yeah, the old man already going back to the Nexus, trying to get a couple of mana points pulled up before he heads into the first objective. But this is now definitely a setup where we have a very traditional Falstad build going straight for the auto attacks. Now we've seen adjustments. Hazop just showed that earlier, where he went into a full Lightning Rod build with Wingman on level 1, trying to increase the damage, get the extra shields out. So there are definitely a couple of variations of how you can play Falstad these days. But in this setup that they have, they want to target those melee heroes at the front. And they have, of course, not only Maiev, but also Nuburak and Dehaka against them. So it makes a lot of sense to set this up. And Li Ming can poke in the same vein here. Can always try and control that space, but has, of course, to be careful also about all the beetles that are getting spawned on Mopsio.
Now, if you go Brideville too, you also got to make sure that you're able to keep that Lightning Rod on target. You have both Maiev, you have Dehaka, you have a Nuburak. You can usually break that tether pretty darn easily. Zealots already starting to grab the middle lane, and they will attempt to control the point, want to get it set up, but Mopsio doing his best here to delay that by contesting it occasionally. Make sure they can't get the full channel, but he is taking a lot of poke damage. Bodybus comes in from the side, drops out a drag, and they're going to try and focus down Blaze, who's taking some damage. Zarmy's hoping to retreat here. He's getting pretty darn low, but it looks like he'll get out.
Yeah, they can't get the kill here, and Mopsio himself is also low, so the poke still continues, whereas we see Falstad and Maiev locked into the little battle at the top. But Maiev has now started to rotate as the camp has been pushed out. So Quacknix is the one who has to stay a bit longer, but he can still use the global to fly back down and help out here. But for now, the Leftovers have taken the position, and that forces the Zealots to retreat, but they're trying to at least use that time to get another turret. But we have the same rotation happening on the side of their opponent as the Leftovers are going in straight away to grab an item for themselves.
Also with level 7 hitting. Explosive arrows picked up here for Hanzo, looking to get a little bit more wave clear. Between Dehaka, Maiev, they have some decent wave clear. They want to make sure that they don't have to deal with any of that. They can just focus on the control points. Zealots step up once again, while Leftovers jump up to 68%. Oh my gosh, they barely get a Nubrak down to low health, down to a quarter. He should get healed up by Decker pretty darn soon, and he'll have that healing pulse soon.
I mean, as I said before, I really like what the Zealots are running here. There's definitely aggressive potential from the Leftovers perspective, but I think the execution has to be way, way better. The burden of execution is on in their end, and where Zealots are just doing really well with a more standard draft here, and so far claiming that space. Now we have an adjustment for Nubarak because he is still pretty squishy here. He goes for the Chitinous plating here, trying to get the extra W's, but at this point there's the tether. Healing pulses on the ground. Zamani is getting attacked. Robodoba rooted into the ground, and Muradin might be in too much trouble for him to handle, but barely is able to move away.
I'll back up. Remember, he doesn't have third win, which means it'll take some time for him to get his health back, and the Leftovers will take that time to take back the point, and they get it. So they start to climb on up. Mopsio and crew try to hold the front line. Robodoba did tap, so he is healed up and ready to go. Zealots, they want to contest. They want to fight for this point.
Chris with the same, goes for the pre-tap already. Here comes the engage. Kidney goes in, looks for the tether, doesn't find it. The zone control through Deckard, and that allows them to claim the first protector of the game, and they are immediately moving through the middle. Of course, trying to go for that standard rotation here, dropping the wall, dropping the turrets, gathering the experience, and then rotating top real quickly to drop the wall and the well.
Leftovers have just grown so much as a team. It's a joy to watch where they are right now. Like, they're not making as many mistakes as we used to have in the past. They would have so many great moments and just throw it away by someone being out of position. And I know we're only 6 minutes into this game in game number 2, but the way they are playing, the control that they have, and they displayed there when it came to turrets and also the fights is something that is just enjoyable to see. And Leftovers continue to take this moment. They push this top lane, they grab the well, they get the turrets, they hit level 10, and they're making a play for a fort.
And now they can, of course, also jump the backline here. They have the level 10 ability, and there's the disc. Containment disc is already out. Oh, but a slight mistiming on the Protector, so Quacknix does not get caught here, and they're trying to turn that around. Protector is down, the fort is still there, and Zealots are close to getting level 10 for themselves.
Had to be careful, don't get caught behind that fort. Next thing you know, one kill comes in, Leeming gets reset, and Zealots gonna turn everything around. Leftovers back up, they grab the healing pulse instead, they get the fort down to half health, but as you mentioned in our first series, getting that well is always a good step to getting set up for that second control point.
And now, we talked about this during the draft, but if you look at the setup for Leftovers, they play around Containment Disc and also Cocoon, and that's where there's really a lot of stuff that can happen from the Zealots' perspective. First of all, it depends really on who the targets are, because there's definitely a few layers of what they can use to mitigate a bit of that pressure that can come out from Leftovers once they commit to a Containment Disc and Cocoon. That might be the bunker. If Liming is targeted, she might be just the one who, with Disintegrate, burns down the Cocoon. That's the reason in the first place why we see Disintegrate, and very likely also why Liming was chosen on their side. And then, if really everything starts to fall apart, you can go into the Mighty Gust. Even better if you get a couple of quick kills like this one, for example. Potipos is very unlikely to get out of this situation.
They hit the drag into isolation, trying to get out. Disintegrate should be enough, and Chris is able to secure the kill, also getting the reset. But Leftovers take the time to push in the top left corner, and they take the fort instead.
Yeah, but as long as they are getting some value down at the bot lane, that should still be worth it.
Yeah.
But I like what Leftovers are doing. They're just continuing the push because they're saying, hey, if you're willing to trade, we're just going to grab your your keep.
They have to be careful, though. Quack is ready to come in with a Mighty Gust. Link is here, too. Does not want to get tossed straight into this keep here. Murden can force his fight at any point. Quack is still lingering around, with only Blaze showing in the bottom lane. Leftovers is trying to retreat here, and they also spread out, too, to make sure they don't get caught out.
Blaze is still at that bot lane, and he pushes a big wave in, and Dehaka is a little bit too late to really get all of that experience here. He's actually going to miss out on a fair chunk of it. And now we have, of course, the question, what happens around level 30? Is Leftovers going to be the one that heads into that second objective with a talent advantage, or are Zealots with the experience they're trying to gather right now able to close that gap fast enough so that they fight an even fight?
Well, 13 hits, and Leftovers can decide what they want to do here. With turrets being grabbed and camps as well. Zealots have taken everything on the map so they can just focus on soaking, and they're playing it safe too. You see Chris in the top left corner not realizing where anyone's at. With Blaze and Falsehead in the bottom, they do have the retreat available thanks to Muradin scouting in this top right corner.
And again, we have also the vertigating spines now taken for Anubarak. And Anubarak is a little bit more of a squishy main tank. It's one of the reasons why we had that level 7 adjustment, but now on level 13, we're basically seeing that as well. So you deal some extra damage. It's like really a much harder focus into the hardened carapace here as a tool for the fights. Especially the cooldown reduction on 7 when you proc it is of course also going to increase the damage through the 13 talent.
Help them control a little bit. Also when they're diving, extra damage in there might be enough to help secure a kill.
Talking about damage, I mean, it's not the only thing that really comes into play here. We have 20 stacks on Robadova for his Perfect Storm and his quest, and at the same time 27 stacks for Quacknix, and he has now Giant Killer. So Falset is going to hit a lot harder with the auto attacks, and against a triple melee setup, that is going to matter. 13 talents are now also giving healing static into the hands of Muradin, which is a super important talent to have. And the Zealots are actually trying to get that healing pulse here before they head into a fight, but Leftovers are willing to contest that, and that's where we could now see Cocoon and Containment Disc. They let it go for now. Robadoba wants to claim it, he has it. Here comes the silence. They're trying to go for Dehaka, and they might even get him.
Arrow hits on Falsa to stop him from chasing. Potibus turns around and gets off the drag. Lakidney also chasing down Blaze, but with the bunker, he's able to jump into it and escape. No one falls. Heroics have been used, but Avatar is still available, and so is Cocoon.
And Potibus missed the isolation, and that was a big part of this. And now Robadoba can actually go for it. Misses the Stormbolt, though. There's no setup. The Tong connects. And in the back line, we have Cocoon already being used. Quacknix is safe for now. Doesn't have the Gust available, but they're going for the bark, and down he goes. And Nubarak is dead. Stay a while and listen, slowing them down for a moment, but Blikidney on Maiev is still on the run. Tries to move out. Stormbolt could go down. They're trying to go for Malfurion here. The drag connects, but Potibus just doesn't get enough value out of it since the damage follow-up isn't ready.
The front line playing too well there for Zealots. The Leftovers have no way of actually bringing down these tanks. Even with Scatter Arrow coming in, you saw how healthy they were. Malfurion constantly keeping everyone nice and alive. And then, of course, with you being able to drop down that pulse in the top left corner, they just couldn't get rid of them. Leftovers had to retreat. And
that brings us back to what we talked about earlier, the defensive tools that exist on the Zealots side. Killing Muradin is going to be rough. Unless you really hit the isolation, you connect the drag and stack the CC on him, he is going to pop Avatar, he's going to clap away, get the healing static value. And you also have now the Ice Block on Malfurion, Bunker available too. There's so many tools. If Leftovers coordinate their own heroics perfectly, they can definitely get these kills. But there's so many aspects where it's going to be rough for them if the Zealots play their own cards right. And everyone needs to know exactly what his job is in this fight, depending on who's getting contained by Maiev or who's getting hit by the Cocoon.
With all heroics up, Leftovers move up and try to make another play as they're looking to grab it here. Arrow comes out, it does hit Quacknix, but then he pulls him in, Burrow Charge comes in, and that's going to be an immediate kill on the bird. Bunker comes out, but decent damage coming in from Li Ming. She gets a reset, she's looking for a second. Chris is trying to find some more kills, but can he trying to retreat here? It looks like he'll be able to as Deckard gives him the heals.
Falset barely sucked in there by Maiev. He was actually about to escape already thanks to the barrel charge, but now he's down. And he's the global, so he can fly back in once he's back, but Zealots have already taken the space here. Falsa's going to back in 15, but they're still fighting. Overtime is already challenged. 15 seconds for Blaze to have the bunker ready, but Robadoba is already going in. Potibus is delaying it for as long as he can. He gets the drag, but can they really drop Blaze? 6 seconds for bunker, 5. He's about to drop, not quite, but here he can go and drop his ult again if they really need it, but it doesn't even seem that it's necessary.
They have to back up. Falset's up, Mighty Gust is available. They don't want to get pinned down into a corner, so they pull away immediately with 16 even hitting for the Leftovers. Zealots are able to steal away from the Protector, and they push forward and grab 16 for themselves.
Yeah, and right now, this is really the big issue. So even with the 16 talent, they couldn't quite close out the fight there. And now Falstad is coming back into the fight. Dwarf Frost again being used here. We have at the same time another potential kill against Potibus, but also Blaze in trouble. Shield is there. There comes the bunker. Stay a while and listen. The containment disc is out. Zarmany saved by Quacknix for a moment, but the kill comes in as Maiev confirms it.
Link trying to stay alive, but the robot just keeps chasing him down. DIV dropping a little bit of damage as well, but 2 fall for the Leftovers as Zealots are able to grab a kill in 2 and then grab the fort afterwards as well. Main issue though, the Protector has been burned down, so they can't push for more.
Yeah, they still get the fort though, and that is now a leading experience. 5 kills against 2, and even with a kill against Blaze, it's just really tricky for them. First of all, Nubarak is really suffering from that low hit point pool. That's one of the things that we can definitely already point out here, since he has been now dying 3 or 4 times, and that's really starting to become a bit of an issue that he gets burned down that quickly. So 3 deaths on a noob. Falstad is hammering into the ground with the auto attacks. Liming is coming in with the volleys over and over again, connecting really well. Chris doing a great job with that. And it's really tricky for this melee heavy setup on the leftover side to do anything in a long poke war.
I will say in the last couple of fights also for Leftovers, they just haven't quite hit the mark in terms of trying to land all their isolation. Either a containment disc miss out or an arrow is suddenly missing. They need to have those connect. And if they do, they are close enough to get these kills. I think they'll finally be able to get it. Cocoon comes out, will hit on Muradin. Disintegrate pops out. Muradin jumps in immediately. Stay a while, listen. Keeps the backline in trouble, but Mighty Gus comes in. Falstad pushes him into a corner. Bunker is going to be the dance here, though, for Zealots as they just burn everyone alive.
Double kill. It's a triple, baby. They go for Nubarak, and he goes down too. The quad kill hits home, and this is Muradin's Muradin's wet dream. If you go in and you just clap away over and over again, and there's like 4 heroes sitting right on top of you, you're never gonna fall. You're getting so much healing static value that it's just impossible for the opponent to kill you. So once he was burned out of the cocoon and could jump in, just look at this. He can just clap all day long and it doesn't matter. You can't even kill that guy. The bunker comes down too. You have a quick Twilight Dream coming out towards the end of the fight as well. This is just insane at this moment. Fantastic move. Quagnix falls, he dies as the Mighty Gus pulls everyone into that corner, but it was definitely worth it. Sacrificed himself to create that position, and they walk away with a quad kill.
And Lee being able to get those resets, and look at the level disparity here. 19 to just barely level 18 here. 20 right around the corner for the Zealots with a control point spawning pretty darn soon. They'll have that 20, be able to move for Protector. Leftovers are in a position where they have to make a play, but I don't know if they can make that play. Already, Zealots backing up as a unit of 4 to the bottom left. Gonna have top left pushed in here by Quagnix. He's gonna play safe here. Leftovers need to get experience somewhere, but where do they get it? Do they go to the bottom there, try and work on that fort? The time is ticking for them.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult. And I want to come back to what we said during the draft and what you also highlighted a few seconds ago. The coordination of heroic abilities, getting the isolation there and also making sure that you hit these arrows, because you're absolutely right. If everything is played perfectly here, Leftovers can win these fights and get these kills. But it's really just the execution. The level of execution you need to pull all of that off is pretty crazy. And if they don't play it perfectly, then they don't have a chance. And at this point, Zealots, they're just not going to fall for these traps because they know what the opponent is trying to do. They get an easy kill against MyF. They sniff that out. Chris is there, checks the bush, everybody moves in, they isolate MyF and they get the kill. And now they're going for Link 2. He has 0 escape tools. He's going to fall as well. 11 kills against 3, level 20 versus 18. They have everything they need now to get a massive lead in the game and maybe even end it.
And the best part about that too is Leftovers set up a trap, but Zealots made that trap become their trap. They sat up in the middle, they had a complete concave set over afterwards, they waited for level 20 to hit. The moment 20 hit, we saw Li Ming unleash the magic missiles and of course move in and force the fight. Zealots take 2 immediate pickups, Leftovers still sitting at 19.25 in experience with turrets being grabbed as well. Zealots are sitting pretty.
Yeah, they definitely are. And of course, right now, the minimum of what they want to achieve with the Protector is the key. That's the minimum. In an ideal world, you want to end the game here. So they are already starting to open the map because they know there's only 3-4 heroes on the map. So they're in an advantageous position. They're poking away at the wall. If you get the wall, you have an easier time with the Protector itself to move through here. But you need to be careful because once there are 5 heroes on the map, a quick cocoon could force a fight that you're unwilling to take. So that's one of the reasons why they move back once that they have Deckard spawning.
Don't forget about level 20 though. 20 comes on, you'll have Contagion if that bunker is unable to get out and have that cleanse come in. Dahaka can find a spot for the Zealots to get kind of picked off. You'll have Rewind coming online for a new Rex, so you have that CC chain, so you're able to lock that down.
So they're moving away now, and there's a pretty big reason for it, because they have another item that they can take, and that means they have, once they take the camp, they have 3 turrets now, and they have a healing pulse. This is nearly impossible for the Leftovers to win unless they get a quick kill. So this is all about the engage. If all the items are getting dropped, and if it's a long and drawn out fight, Zealots have a fantastic position here. But if the Leftovers find a quick kill and get a good isolation off, they can maybe take this. Now trying to go for Muradin here. Sorry for Blaze, and I think that's a big mistake.
Blaze gets locked down, Stay Wildlands comes out, but Robodoba jumps in, and he is fully healthy. Big wind tunnel comes out, pushing everyone in the back left corner. They're stuck on conveyor belts, and Zealots will take them freely. There's one pick, there's a second pick, as Li Ming starts to get those resets. Isolation comes out. now, but it doesn't matter. Zealots are destroying the Leftovers as they are running with their tails between their legs.
And here comes Cocoon even being used, immediately getting burned down. But you could also see how all the turrets got dropped right away. They didn't hesitate for a second. And Nubarak barely gets away for now. But that's exactly what we've been talking about. If you hold the item control and you don't lose one immediately, if your opponent doesn't get that snap kill, then you just drop everything and you claim the space, and that's what they did. Now they have the Protector, 2 heroes are still down there, starting to move through, and that's the Zealots trying to go for victory here in game number 2.
And they should be able to get it pretty easily. Protector gets that keep down, 20 seconds until we have Dahak on the field. Also, Kane. Blakitney on the back left, looking for an amazing engage. Drops down the containment, goes straight on in. Will find Li Ming. They try to focus down Chris. Chris and Robodoba are getting those resets coming in, so we're going to have Maiev actually in a pretty decent spot where the core begins to fall. 5%, 10%, 15%. Mopsio trying to hold here as well. Robodoba as well are slow, but they are just buying some time here as Link jumps in. The Protector will finish the job.
Mirrodin is down, but as you said, the Protector is going for it, and that is game as the Leftovers lose it on Volskaya. Zealots tying the series, taking the 1-1.
1-1, and we get a game number 3 all nice and tied up. Zealots looking a little bit more clean there when it came to the shot calling. It really seemed once that level 13 hit, that Giant Killer came on for Falstad, they were able to start getting those resets, and honestly, Chris went off there. 67,000 damage popped in.
Yeah.
That amazing Mighty Gust on that top pulse, allowing for Murder to jump in and Li Ming get those resets, was definitely a moment that was very hard for Leftovers to deal with.
Now, we talked about it in the second rotation of the draft already when the 2-3 came in for the Zealots. Going for Malfurion, Murder, and Blaze right at the start of the game just gives you so much sustain there. And the idea of isolating targets with a Cocoon and a Containment Disc is great in theory, and if you pull that off on the highest level of execution, you can definitely get those kills and win these fights. But I just don't know if the Leftovers are already there. It was just way easier to drop a Mighty Gust every now and then, drop that bunker, just burn down the Cocoon with Li Ming, and the Zealots played this really well. So a good game plan